Developed by Moby Games, Edge is a very basic and rudimentary puzzle platform game that's very reminiscent of old arcade games such as Q*bert and Marble Madness. The basic idea of each stage just being to get your way through a gauntlet of obstacles and reach the end, while trying to do it as fast as possible and optionally collect all of the gems that are scattered throughout each course. While it is pretty rudimentary gameplay mechanics, it does have one mechanic that kind of sets it apart from the rest, and that's the ability to balance on the edge of a platform. If you manage to balance on the side of a platform, hence the name of the game, Edge, it will actually deduct seconds off of your final time, meaning that if you're good enough and you can balance long enough, you can completely eliminate the timer as a factor in your final score. Now, you move at an isometric perspective, which makes the controls here a little bit wonky. It's basically the akin to playing Q*bert. If you push left, you don't move left, but you move at a 45-degree angle because of the perspective. Now, people who aren't familiar with this type of gameplay style may find it a little bit hard to get the handle on this at first, but I was never any good at Q*bert as a kid, and I managed to work this just fine. Physics are also a factor here, so your cube is going to take a little while to get moving, mostly because, well, it has to push itself over onto a new side. So expect a few delays when you first start pushing those control keys. Visually, of course, the game is very blocky, and with this kind of aesthetic, it does kind of work, but there isn't really a whole lot of color aside from the exit points, the gems, and your cube. So, while I do applaud it for actually taking a very stylistic approach, there really isn't a whole lot to look at here, which is slightly disappointing, but like I said, the game doesn't suffer too much because of it. Still, it would have been nice to have a little bit of camera control, especially during the later stages where it gets much larger. Sound effects are few and far between, but the excellent soundtrack more than makes up for this. The soundtrack is basically made up of several industrial and electronica pieces, which you would find in a half-decent nightclub, and while I don't find them very fun to listen to on their own, I do find it very fun to just hear it while I'm playing the game. Again, it kind of makes up for the game's lack in the graphics department when you have a great soundtrack that perfectly complements the arcadey mood. The game is available on pretty much every mobile platform and is also available on both Mac and PC via the Humble Bundle and can also be found on Steam. The only reasons I can think of why anybody should not check out this game is either they're not a puzzle game fan, they aren't really a fan of old school sensibilities, or they're just turned off by the lack of graphical color. But then again, with every AAA title nowadays going for the quote realistic brown look unquote, I can't really see that being much of a problem here. This is a fantastic puzzle game, and if you pass it up, you're really missing out on something very fun. This game gets a wonderfully respectful 8 energy cubes out of 10. My name is Goombasa, and I will see you all next time.